Please be seated. So I'm going to admit something to you. If you look in your bulletin, you'll see a membership drive, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. So don't worry too much. But I find it really funny, and I find it funny because I wish I'd planned enough ahead, because it would have been a perfect tie-in. But I can't take ownership for it. In today's gospel, Jesus is having a membership drive. And it would have been perfect if I could have tied it together and said, oh, we planned this one from the start. We didn't. I thought about telling y'all that I did, but that would have been lying, so I didn't do it. But for what it's worth, I want you to have that frame of mind to understand what's going on in today's gospel, okay? Jesus is having a membership drive. Said another way, a discipleship drive, okay? As it starts off, he's traveling to Jerusalem, and there's this large crowd gathering with him. Okay, we don't know exactly how many this crowd is. We know it's more than 70 and probably less than 5,000, right? The feeding of, with me? Okay, so that's probably how big this crowd is with him. And Jesus is starting to question them or encourage them. You're following me, great, glad you're here. Do you know what you're getting yourself into? This is his question for them, essentially, right? And that's why we have the two parables that he tells today, building the tower and then going off to war, right? Know what you're getting into before you do it. If you want to follow me, great. Here's what it looks like to follow me. That's the context of today's gospel. A discipleship drive, a membership drive. And so then he starts off and says, if you want to be my disciple, here's how it looks. You have to hate your father and mother, wife and children, brother and sister. Yes, you even have to hate life itself. Now, on the surface, this feels like it would be a rebelling teenager's favorite gospel lesson ever. This is what we've been waiting for. When you hear it, I hope you paused. I hope it made you take a step back. Because we just heard the Prince of Peace and the God of love command us to hate. I want you to say, wait a second, what just happened? We're supposed to love our enemy even, but hate our parents, those closest to us? It kind of makes you, well, it doesn't make you wonder. You start to see now why the critics of the faithful might call us hypocrites. It makes sense, doesn't it? This also can serve as a case study for if you claim to take the Bible literally, you better not be doing it in English. So let's dive into a little bit of Greek here, because you'll know I love it. So Greek has 5 words that we translate as hate. 5 different words that we just hate across the board for all 5 of them. And so Greek has a word for that kind of violence, guttural kind of resistance against your arch enemy. For me, like think of Alabama football. Right. Like Greek has that word, hate. Today is not that word. It's a different word. Today's word that Jesus uses, it's more of a comparison word. It's a word often used to describe the relationship between a master and a servant. It's more of a word of allegiance. It's more of a word of authority. The best way to understand what it means is Jesus is saying, place everything else less than. Okay? Meaning, to follow me, you have to love father, mother less than me. You have to love life less than me. Or, make them second to me. It's an interesting way to think about it, right? That this word that we translate as hate would mean love less. It makes sense, but it's not the same idea at all. Now, there's 2 ways that we can understand this, what Jesus is saying. On one hand, it means love Jesus so much that everything else doesn't matter. Love Jesus so much that you might as well hate everyone else because your love of Jesus is so great. You can also walk away with it as, oh, I get to keep my relationships exactly the way that they are and love Jesus just a little bit more. Both of them are following the letter of the law there, according to Jesus. So which one do we do? Let's put a pin in it. We'll come right back to it. Because just after this, Jesus says, those who do not pick up their cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. I say this one all the time, so I hope it's familiar. There's only one reason that you're carrying your cross, because you're about to be crucified on it. There's no reason to pick up a cross unless you're about to die on it. So Jesus says, if you want to be my disciple, great, pick up your cross. Be willing to give everything. Be willing to take your life in your hand. Be willing that everything else you knew is about to change because you have your cross and you're walking to your crucifixion. If you want to be my disciple, that's what it looks like. On the other hand, when we get to Jerusalem, and Jesus is talking to this crowd of, let's call it thousands of people, how many of them are crucified with him? None. It's just Jesus. So on one hand, we're all to pick up our cross. On the other hand, just Jesus dies on it. So what do we make of that? You see, what we find, this is what I would call the paradox of discipleship. We kind of find ourselves in between these two, and well, what do we make of that? Because on one hand, you can say, yes, I follow Jesus because I hate everybody. Yes, I follow Jesus, and I'm willingly laying down my life. I'm following Jesus because I'm seeking to be a martyr. Over here, you can say, yes, I follow Jesus, and nothing in my life has changed at all. I'm following Jesus, and every Lent I give up Diet Coke, and that's my cross to bear. Which one of these is really following Jesus? Because on one hand, it feels like it's going to cost you everything to follow Jesus. Everything is going to change. You're giving up everything you ever had. On the other hand, it feels like nothing has changed at all. Actually, it feels like all you have to do is say, yes, Jesus, I'm going to follow you, and you're made a disciple. So how can being a disciple cost everything and yet be given to you completely at the same time? There's our paradox of discipleship. And we find ourselves right in the middle of it. So what do we do? Well, I have some analogies for us. I want you to think back and remember when you were learning how to swim. Or maybe if it's been a while, I want you to remember maybe teaching your child how to swim. Now, this last summer, we taught Hollis to swim. Technically, she taught herself to swim. There's actually a couple moments in there where I really think Hollis could relate to the hate your father and mother bit. Okay. But here's the thing about learning to swim. Maybe you forgot. You cannot do it as long as your feet are on the bottom of the pool. It's impossible. You cannot swim if you don't first lift your feet up. That means that in order for you to swim, you have to let go. In order to swim, you have to give up your life. In order to swim, you have to risk drowning. But as soon as you do, you realize the water will hold you. And as soon as you try to get your feet back on the ground, you will drown. Right? The only way to do it is you have to both give up everything and receive the water at the same time. It's the only way you can learn to swim. It'll cost you everything, and you gain everything in the process. It's pretty cool, isn't it? Here's another analogy. Marriage. Marriage will cost you everything. Now you're saying, you're telling me, brother. Right. In order for two people to become one flesh, okay, in order for two people to become one flesh, one has to give completely of themselves to the other. You have to give up everything you are, give completely to the other person. It will cost you everything. And in giving yourself totally to the other person, what do you receive? You receive the totality of the other person. Right? Each of you freely giving and receiving at the same time. And what happens in marriage is as soon as you stop giving yourself wholly to the other person, the marriage starts to rumble. It starts to shake. The only way a marriage works is by fully giving and receiving. Here's another analogy. We see it in the Eucharist. There's a beautiful symbolism that happens that we don't talk about enough. When we come up to receive the Eucharist, we come up like this. Okay? I want you to imagine going to a restaurant, like a really, really, really good restaurant. The sort of restaurant where every single bite you take, it just melts in your mouth. Right, where the ambiance is great, the company is great, the drink is great, right? It's the best experience you've ever had eating. At the end of the meal, the waiter comes to you, gives you your check. and you look at it and you go like this. You're going to be washing dishes before you know it. Right? Or imagine you go to the grocery store beginning of the week and you load up for the whole week. You got so many groceries that you have to have that little tag-along cart because you've overloaded the first one, right? And you get to the checkout lane, you start checking out, and they tell you it's going to be this much money. You hold your hands out like this. They're going to be really mad at you as they take your carts and go put everything back on the shelves, aren't they? You see, outside of the Eucharist, really the only time you see posturing like this is from that person sitting on the side of the street. This is a position of emptiness. It's a position of nothingness. It's a position of, I have nothing. Can you please fill me? And this is how we come to be fed by Jesus. We cannot attempt to buy it. We cannot attempt to achieve it. We have to empty ourselves. We have to give of everything we are. And being completely empty, we come and say, Lord, fill me. That's what we say in the Eucharist. And what do we receive? We receive love. We receive life. We receive Jesus. We receive God. But the only way that you receive it is to give of everything. That's discipleship. This is how it looks. This is how it works. So therefore, disciples, that's what you are. You wouldn't be here if you weren't. As we're on this road together to Jerusalem, we have to ask ourselves, how is our journey going? Are you a disciple because you can say, I hate that group and that group and that group? Are you a disciple because you can say, my life has not changed at all? Before you answer that, answer this one. What are you receiving? If we say by following Jesus we receive everything, ask yourself, what are you receiving? Are you receiving what you thought you would be? And let me tell you, how you answer that is probably related to how you answer that first one. You are a disciple of Jesus. It has cost you everything to be here because you are choosing Jesus above all else. You are choosing Jesus above every other relationship, institution, state, nation, doesn't matter. Jesus is our all. And we are carrying our cross, willing to risk it all, to risk everything, because Jesus means that much. That's what it means to be a disciple. So, disciples, how is your journey going? To God be the glory, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.